Woohoo!
Hello, YouTube. How's it going? It's Chrisiosity here in my first ever Patreon chat. And so, hi, everybody, whoever might be watching. And yeah, I'm just going to pass it over to the two wonderful, good-looking, intelligent, most of all, incredibly just fantastic good taste. I think that we should all stop for a moment and just appreciate that, the taste that we're talking about here. But first, so let me pass it on to Marty.
Hello. So, you just want me to explain who the hell I am?
Sure.
Okay.
Anything you want to say.
Well, I found your channel, probably about 6 months ago. And I really did struggle with, because I'm trans. Oh, did we drop off?
Hello?
No, I'm still here.
All right. Okay. I heard all this background noise and then nothing. So,
Well, that's because I muted myself. I'm sorry.
That's all right. So basically, I struggled with kind of like with finding community in the secular community because of a lot of the dude bros and being trans and a lot of the stuff that goes with that. There's a lot of misogynist culture in the secular community. So I kind of struggled to find voices that I felt like represented kind of where I was in things. And I listened to a few interviews with you. I don't remember. It was one that Christy Winters actually mirrored on her channel, and that's what brought me to you. But I'm a trans woman. I'm like we were saying before we started, because I made a joke and was playing some Julie Andrews, Getting to Know You, and I just turned 50 this year. I've been a trans activist for God knows how long, since 2001-ish.
Wow.
Yeah. I started the blog Trans Advocate, which is now a 501c3 nonprofit. A lot of that goes to the current managing editor, Kristen Williams. She's done a lot with it, but we're getting ready to start the UK version, which I'm really excited about because I live here in the UK now. That's a long story in and of itself, but how I came to be, because I'm originally from Indiana, so I don't know. I do know how in the hell I got here, but a Hoosier in the southeast of the United Kingdom. It's kind of a odd thing, but that's pretty much my story as far as like who I am and where I came from.
Cool. I do have, sorry, I do have a question from the chat. What your pronouns are?
She, her. Let's see. I kind of have a running joke on that when it comes to my pronouns. I actually have it in my my Twitter profile. She, her, Marty, unhinged fear pimp, outrage brigade commander, free speech police officer, SJW, bad faith agent of chaos.
Ah, excellent. Touching all the bases there. I like it.
Well, those are some of the things I go by. So,
all right. And so going on from that to some random geek who I've been on with other Hangouts before. So if you want to just sort of talk about yourself and your own channel, that would be cool.
Talking about myself? Most everyone's favorite subject, themselves. Of course I will talk about myself and drop the character that I just created right then and there. Hello, I am Jonathan Scott. That is public knowledge. I put my Facebook profile actually in my social media links. And I'm some random geek, and yeah. Going off of what Marty just said, I like how my older brother introduced himself, or what his religion is, even though most people don't ask that. He says that he is a secular, humorous, atheist, and agnostic deist. And so I'm going to take that as well. And but I'm also a leftist and a feminist, and like right now identify as an anarchist. Let's see if I can get better light so you can see the awesome hat. And yeah, I do have a YouTube channel. I kind of post things on there. Right now it's mostly movie reviews and whatever else I feel like doing. Sorry to bother you, it's a great movie. Go see that. It's definitely anti-capitalist, anarchist, and Boot Riley made a great political statement as well as an excellent debut, and he's a communist too. But about myself, how I discovered your channel, Christiasity, I'll say that. I try to keep it as short as possible because I know I can tend to ramble. I wanted to learn more about Gamergate after I found out my younger brother in 2016 is a Gamergater.
Oh, God bless.
And so, yeah, for weeks I kept it to myself, and it's like, am I weird? Wait a minute, no. Am I the only one that thinks that that was a hate movement, an anti-women movement, an anti-feminist movement? I wasn't the only one, thankfully. And when I shared that to my social media, my older brother saw that and he kind of said, you know what, Gamergate is one of two things, and it's like, yeah, then I just looked at my younger brother thinks this, thinks this, thinks this, thinks this. He thinks Anisha Keys is just as bad as Jack Thompson, and my older brother saw that and go, whoa, he just regurgitated every single anti-SJW talking points. The only thing you failed to mention is that anti-game gears are just as bad as gaming gators. I go, no, he did mention that too. But from that, I wanted to learn more about Gamergate. And so that's how, going through Twitter, MovieBot's Twitter, someone said, Sargon's God said this about you. To which someone else replied, H. Barber Guy proves Sargon's an idiot. H. Barber Guy led to Garrett, and then Garrett flew open the buckets, and that's how I found Tom Avell, Christy Winters, you, Christiosity, Tim Blake from Demoted Opinion, Michael Rowans and ContraPoints, and then from Christy Winters, I found some other awesome YouTubers and feminists and stuff like that. And yeah, it's been 2 years, and now I'm a feminist, and now I'm an anarchist, because other YouTubers like American Anarchist, new one, Thought Slime, the Vegan Anarchist. I need to watch more of her her videos and stuff like that. Blanc Sprager, Gwen No Fear. I could go on, but that is pretty much an introduction to me. But also, yes, I'll continue the tradition from the Christy Winters channels. I will show off what I am wearing. As you can see, hopefully, okay, there's a better light. There's the Captain America Crush Cap and Steampunk goggles. I bought it from the hat maker who made the Boba Fez and the Bloodborne hat and the R2-D2 bowler. Sweater is just like Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think one of the best animated series in the last few decades or so. I really love it. And I'm going to flip things around. But now, since I'm known as...
We're upside down.
now I'm right side up. Anyway, I am known as Leggings Man, so here are the leggings. If you can see that.
Ooh, I like it. That's yes. That's the new movie, right? Aquaman?
Yes, or is it is. These are just green fish scale leggings, but yes, I have used this as an Aquaman cosplay. Mm-hmm. Which I might see that movie. I've seen all the other DC Extended Universe movies except for Man of Steel. I'm not sure if I should go back and see that. Maybe as a completionist sake, because yes, I'm a random geek, a huge geek from a family of geeks. I love Doctor Who, from my parents, Doctor Who, Star Wars, Star Trek. Last Jedi was a great movie. My older brother agrees with me, yet my oldest brother doesn't, and my younger brother, the Gamergater, doesn't, of course, because he's boycotting it, because It's OSJW. Yeah. And that's me.
All right. Well, glad to have you aboard.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I want to know. I want to know what Thanksgiving is like at his house.
I got drunk. I can tell you that. We did it on a Friday because to coincide with my brother's birthday, my oldest brother, and we had it at my stepmom's, and we invited coworkers. Well, okay, the thing about my younger brother, the Gaming Gator and the Trump voter, is that I live with him and I work with him. We work at different departments, and we just don't talk, except it's something important. And I don't talk politics with him. Sometimes it comes up. I had trolled him with a Christmas gift of Susan Faluti's Backlash, which I should have emailed my family as we normally do, so that we make sure we're not double gifting. But I figured, hey, this gift's not on the list, so like no one else is going to buy it. But my older brother also bought our younger brother's Susan Faluti's Backlash. He was like, what? What are you trying? What are you doing? And then when he opened the stuff, what the fuck? Oh, I swear I'm on your channel. This hang is now demonetized. I'm sorry if it gets demonetized. Anyway.
So basically, it was a family intervention.
It was just me and my older brother, and so it's back at our apartment where we exchanged gifts. But no, that my oldest brother is cool on the feminist and agrees with that, and yeah, we did talk, and I think my younger brother just kind of like gave up at one point. He was just like, I don't want to bother talking about this, and so that's kind of the thing. So my oldest brother and I do agree on feminism for the most part. He's my oldest brother, I think, is just like an American liberal in that he's Democrat. Well, I'm the one in the family that went far left, thanks to the YouTube anarchist community, so. Yeah, sometimes politics do come up, but it came up when we visited our older brother down in Portland, and that was interesting. But for the most part, we just don't talk about it.
Yeah, it's always very interesting, isn't it? I have on my husband's side, his parents are from like old world Portugal. They moved here, his mother was part of like 13 kids just moved here as one big block together. And they're all very Catholic, very conservative. And hey, I've had some interesting conversations with them. I can't say. A lot of times I just end up sort of staring in awe, but like I had we lived in a house, and the boiler, which was like 15 years old, sort of blew out, and his father's really good at plumbing, so he came over and he was helping us fix it, at least get through a couple of days. And before he left, he said, "This is because you don't go to church. You got to go to mass." Yes.
Jesus can fix your boiler.
But he was a carpenter.
It was the plumbing demon.
But you know what? You just go, yeah, well, too late now. I guess just pray for it, and we'll call a professional in a couple of days, because it was one of those like over the weekend things. Different stuff like that happens.
So did like he come in and like I'm gonna lay my hands on your pipes. We're gonna say a few words to Jesus.
He jimmied it up good so that it would work through the weekend, and did whatever it might as well be laying on of hands. I don't know about plumbing. I don't know. It could have been, for all the hell I know about it. But whatever he did and he got it working. And then as he was going out, like, you know,
in the name of Jesus.
You did not. Yeah, I can tell you haven't been to mass. You only go mass.
So you know, that is the worst situation, I think, because you kind of have to be, when you're in a situation like that, you don't want to like cause family drama on your spouse's side.
Right.
You know, I don't, to be honest with you, I'm like the blackest of black sheeps in my family, and I don't, you know, but from a certain perspective, that's good. I don't have a felony. I actually have a college degree, so you know, these are things that aren't normal in my family, but I don't give a shit what they think. But when it's a spouse's family or partner's family, then you kind of have to like kind of deal with the idiosyncrasies of that established relationship, and you can't like go in, well, unless you want to like create tension, go in and say, I'm an atheist, fuck off.
No, I don't do that at all. Like, I don't. All right, we've outed ourselves already as not going to mass all that often, but you know what? We go, we do the holidays, you know, the kids have been. It's not like we don't make a big deal about it. I remember one of his brother's daughter was something like 11, and she's a sharp little cookie. I kind of like her. She's one of those people that will kind of get up at you and wants to know about things. So she asked me, she said, "You don't believe in God, do you?" And I said, "No, I don't." And she says, "Well, what do you believe in?" And before I could get the words out, it was like people were just, you know, running in like, "Oh, we stop." And it was like, she believes in science. That's all. She just believes in science. That's all she believes in. That's fine. We aren't going to talk about it anymore. Like, you know, and I'm going, okay, I'll just keep my mouth shut on this one. Okay. Sure, I believe in science.
I haven't. I always answer that I believe the children are our future.
It's true. I believe everything happens for a reason.
No, I would say that.
I'm not saying what the reason is. It could be, you know, perfectly normal physics-based reason, but you know, pretty much everything happens for a reason.
Oh my God. So I just, when it comes to the family stuff, like in partners, families, it's just so tough because you don't want to hide who you are, but at the same time you don't want to cause friction and drama. So I think there's especially when it comes to kids, because I know being trans, I mean, I'm pretty open about, well, I'm ridiculously open when it comes to my transness, and I'll talk about it to anybody, but at the same time that does cause a lot of friction when it comes to, you know, because especially with Christians, because they'll just by being yourself, you're advocating for some evil spirit, or you know, just some bullshit along those lines, where you're gonna influence these children to become trans.
You're advocating for the corrupt ideas of the postmodern neo-Marxists.
Well, I'm damn well trying.
I was gonna say, was that Jordan Peterson that just popped in?
Or the ghost of him. Let's see. you think about like the postmodern neo-Marxists, we must figure out the presupposition that they like think with, and how they like spread these ideas to everyone. Because as you know, women put on makeup and red lipstick and blush because those features of their face turn red when they get sex, when they are aroused, and so because of that, and they red cheeks look like fruit. And because of that, and how we grew up, we evolved from apes, and we like love fruit and we love to eat fruit, and that's why the fruit is sexy to us. And it's all part of the lobster hierarchy. And these lobster trend activists are just as bad as Mao are trying to implicate and advocate for the corrupt ideas of postmodern neo-Marxists.
Yeah. Has that been pent up for a while? You're like,
no,
damn it. It's like, oh, this guy.
Kevin Logan on Facebook posted a photo. I'll let people find it. And so I just like comment below pretty much that. I just like, and then I thought this one, and then I thought this one, and then I thought this one. So I basically threw everything at the wall of like, Jordan Peterson jargon. And I don't watch that guy that much. It's just like I only know of him through like left Twitter and left YouTube. But yet, even with a little sugar of like your hangouts, or Chrissy Winter's hangouts, of course, and the Kevin and Chrissy happy hour, like fruit face theory. That little sugar helps to tolerate Jordan Peterson. But yet still, when you think about it and how he is listened to and taken seriously by a lot of people, mostly cis white men, but that's that. And it's just like, yeah. But no, but bring back to the earlier point is that, like, I'm also an ex-Catholic too. And we just, it wasn't a big deal when, it was just like we just stopped going. It was just like, I was like, go to church every Sunday, and then by about the 6th grade, it's like, wait, we're not going to church? Okay, that's good. I get to play my video games. Because I always, it was an hour of boredom for me. Okay, I will sing The Sims, I'll do the, like, may the Force be with you, and also with you, and then instantly think of Star Wars. Just do the things, so I don't know the Hail Marys. I know the Lord's Prayer, of course. But then, I hate the wine at church. I hated the wine at church. It was always bitter, and I hated bitter. And so, for the longest time, because of the wine at church, I didn't want to drink alcohol. It wasn't until I was like 26, and then had something made with Everclear, called the apple pie shot. I was like, oh. No wonder people do this. And yes, and I'm not going to say I'm an alcoholic, but there is a Total Wine Spirits and More across the street from where I work. So I know some like good brands of like inexpensive liquor. But anyway.
Well, speaking of which, I am drinking a cheap Shiraz. Is fine. It's a cheap Shiraz, like, you know.
Yeah.
It'll do the damn job, people. I don't know if any of you are drinking anything. Might just be me. I'm okay with that.
Because you guys are, well, because there's drinking going on, I'm not a big one for wine, but I am going to make a gin and tonic. So because I don't want you to have to drink alone.
I appreciate that. You are a true friend, my dear.
So go ahead, John.
If I was at home, I would easily join you, no problem. I would bring the bottle with me to my room, to the laptop, then drink with you. But I'm at work, and so I am actually following the rules in the employee handbook and not bringing alcohol on the premises. Otherwise, I would have a flask with me. But, so I'm only going to drink with you in spirit. But I do drink wine, actually. Actually, the only thing I don't like to drink is like gin. I actually like a lot, even though it's bitter, and I don't like bitter, which is why I don't drink beer usually. Give me a good one, sure, or if like you're paying it for me, sure. But I don't like tonic. So if I drink gin,
and this is a pro tip. Gin, and over here it's called lemonade, but in the States it's probably 7-Up or Sprite. Yeah, if you don't like it bitter, if you don't like gin, the bitterness of gin, it takes it right off the top. So
no, I don't like tonic. That's the thing. I like gin actually. I would just like add it to whatever I'm drinking, whatever like alcohol.
So gin and 7-Up. If you don't like tonic.
Yeah, that's what I always do.
All right. Well, having gotten that out of the way, I wanted to say we have some really cool people in the chat. We have the Magic Theater, Kaiser Sats, Gwen No Fear. So we have some just delightful people. Also, Just a Guy Friend, Persuade Me Please, Yvette, Rational Revenant, who has a hard time trusting U.S. people on wine, and rightly so. Paul Trevor.
I'm now looking forward to the chat when I see it.
I can't say anything because I spent a lot of my youth drinking Mad Dog 2020, and Boone's Farm. So I'm not gonna. I think I ruined my wine tasting from my youth. So I'll just if you say something's good, I'll go with it.
All right. And you know what, you guys, before I have too much cheap Shiraz, I know that there were some things that people wanted to ask me about. So I'm just gonna, if you could, I know Marty, you had said that there were some things that you just wanted to like check in with me about. And I think now would be a good time while I'm still sober enough to answer properly.
Actually, I kind of would like the after about 4 glasses kind of answer.
All right, well, we could try it again. We could just have a do-over, but that might be. I'm not necessarily going to expose the entire internet to that. That could just be us. You know?
I was going to say we used to play a drinking game. It was basically chess, but with alcohol. And the person that every time you would take a piece, you would drink. So the person that was I was playing somebody that was really good at chess, and I'm horrible at it. You basically get them shit-faced drunk to the point that they can't play, and I would kind of like to see that here. But anyways, my question is, well, a couple of my questions, but I listened to the Brainstorm podcast you did recently. And a lot of it you talked about MythCon. Well, part of it you talked about MythCon, and they did a podcast right before yours with Karen Garst, talking about she's going to MythCon,
right?
And I really have a problem with that. Like I feel like I feel like that you know you have these dude bros that'll be like the skeptic dude bros that'll be like, you have to be able to talk about any topic. And I feel like when you give legitimacy to things you shouldn't ever give legitimacy to, I think you normalize a lot of it, and there are some things I don't believe should be up for debate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think when like with Sam Harris is a good example when you're talking about race and IQ. I don't think that's something. I think that's something that's pretty well established with. I think most of the work that's been done kind of disproves or puts down um, Charles Murray, and I think that when you're I mean the kind of topics that they're going on about like is Me Too gone too far, this type of shit, and I'm just like that's just promoting that kind of question. I was just kind of curious what you thought about like um, basically the normalization of shitlord, the shitlord conference.
Mm-hmm. I when I was asked, and I was sort of asked in a roundabout way, my first impulse was to say no, and I'm not gonna lie, I spent absolutely sleepless nights on it, like really upset, thinking about it. I'll explain my reasoning because I hear all of your um, I hear all of your arguments. I think that they're all valid. I don't think that they're wrong at all. Um, what there were several things that sort of I couldn't get past. One is um, we have in my country it's gone beyond where we were 5 years ago, right? 5 years, 3 years ago, maybe even four, um, where the degree of concern that I had or that was there about fascism, it was still there, but it felt like a contained threat. And I no longer feel like fascism in my country is at all contained. I think that it's come to the point where we have to reconsider our tactics and take every opportunity to fight back. I think that we have people like the Koch brothers, the Mercers, and others, a number of others, really um, extraordinarily rich people, and they are investing huge amounts of money and huge amounts of time and capital and um, you might call it talent into spreading their ideas in in ways that the left hasn't even begun to answer. Not even we're not even on the field, to be honest with you. Um, so my concern is we can't let that continue to just happen without anybody um, coming out and speaking out against it. I would not, I don't want to accidentally give it more credence than it is. And I actually think that that is not something that I have to worry about as much. So the people that I'm going to talk with, I was explaining to my dad, of all people, who these people are. These are people with PhDs. These are academics. These are people who've been through college and who have written books and who should be people of great respect, right? And they can't even find anybody to argue with them except for a cartoon character from YouTube. Why? Because of the absurdity of their position. And so I'm hoping to sort of go there and highlight that, and at the same time, not let them have an uninterrupted mic, yet another one. Um,
But don't you think that because I hate to say this,
mhm.
but they kind of Thomas Smith had his lunch eaten last year, and I don't think it was based on any kind of facts. I think it was because he went in thinking it was going to be it was going to be a quote debate, and what it was, I mean, it was an entire room of people that aren't debating in good faith.
I think the difference is I know to expect that. Like, I think he genuinely was shocked. But I've been dealing with these assholes for years. Like, so I know that they're not arguing in good faith. Oh my God. If they are arguing in good faith, something is incredibly wrong with them. Right? Like, I've sat through some of their discussions. They must be out of their minds, you know, and I don't say that in I'm not trying to say that in an ableist way. I'm trying to say more like, not that they're mentally ill, but that they're crackpots.
Yeah.
Of the most self-deluded type, if they really believe this stuff. I hope that they don't, for their own sakes. It doesn't matter anything to me what they believe, but and I don't care about them. I care about the spread of their ideas without anybody being able to fight back. I think if the left had its own equally strong, or even if we had like a 30% and they had 70%, I'd be fine with that. That would be awesome to me.
Hey, Mom, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
hang on one second, please. I'm sorry. Can you hang on one second?
Yeah, that's fine.
I believe Logan might have.
Good.
This is called being a parent. I have a 27-year-old, so I know how this goes.
I can only imagine it knowing from my end, but that's from my warped perspective of like being a child and being 6-year-old and being like, how does my mom know that my shirt's on backwards? I can't tell. How can she tell? She must have superhuman powers. But that's
are you sure that wasn't from like yesterday?
Well, if my stepmom, if I am wearing my shirt backwards, my stepmom would ask, yes. And have I worn my shirt backwards before? Well, sometimes I have my shirts that have like the same pattern on the front and the back, so sometimes people ask me because of that. But yeah, no. So now to like fill in airtime, while Christianity is doing the parent thing, so. Yeah, I do 100% agree with like what Christianity was saying is, or maybe it was you the saying that the words like by debating certain ideas are not up to debate, and by debate,
well, can I read something?
Sure.
There was a person on Twitter that goes by the name of Julius Goat. Said the opportunity is a trap meant to utilize civilized discussion to normalize harmful intent and should be declined is the point. If you want to have a debate about how we are going to make sure every cancer patient in the country gets treatment, I'm happy to debate. If you want to have a debate about should we treat all cancer patients, it's a short conversation. Yes, we should. The end.
Mm-hmm.
Then we check both. No, that was another feedback. Anyways, basically that's the point. I think there are some things that you know, I think it's a short discussion.
Yeah.
Especially like with trans lives, you know, people want to have debates continuously about whether or not we have the right to exist. And I'm just to the point anymore where I don't have the time nor the inclination about somebody debating my right to exist.
Yeah.
Now, because it's almost always, it's not a it's not a good faith debate.
Mm-hmm.
You're coming into a debate with someone that has their intention is to show you as a quote pervert or a predator, because that's the memes that are
Yeah.
out there where trans women just want to go into women's bathrooms and look in the stalls. I don't even know what that means, but
Yeah.
but when it comes to that, it's like, is that something that's worthy of debate? Is that worthy of something that's engaging in debate about? Because I just don't know. I mean, that's something that I feel like you the one thing that I do worry about, like as far as Chris Yasti going to a MythCon, is more of being used as the leftist, or that they're basically going to, because I think it's like to a certain extent it's like CNN. If you don't have both sides, you don't have two people on there to kind of take chunks out of each other, then you don't have an event. And that's
Yeah.
it's more about taking bits out of each other and the circus of it than it is about having a quote rational debate.
And I think that they did get the other side before I had signed on. I'm sorry, I jumped back in. There was a minor child-based emergency.
I noticed, like,
yeah, it's. I don't disagree with you. I just think that right now, again, if we had anything like their platforms, anything like their reach, I wouldn't even. I wouldn't
now
bother. You know.
I'm not trying to harangue you, or I'm not trying
Mhm.
to but and I'm not trying to play devil's advocate.
What it doesn't. I'm not offended.
Um,
Because these are the kind of conversations I've had with myself at great length for hours, and
well,
it's nice to have them with someone else.
well, yeah. Um,
What? You
well,
don't talk to yourself? I talk to myself all the time. Is that weird? Anyway, you go ahead, man.
So I'm just I'm curious from the standpoint of, because I do feel like that kind of what shitlording has become a thing because people like a car accident. There's a reason why people stop at fires, and I mean, my grandfather used to take us. He used to listen to the police radio, the channels, just so he could go see what was going on, and you'd have a bunch of people there. There's a reason for that. People kind of want to witness the car accident, and I almost think that, like, it has more to do with, because over here in the UK there's a lot of debate around trans people and their right to be in different women's space, especially trans women to be in women's spaces and all this stuff. And it really has come to the point where most of the people in the trans community that have any kind of prominence will not do interviews, will not go on television, because they know that you're just going to be part of the circus. And it's not about a debate about human beings' lives and about facts. It's about a circus that they want to create. And with MythCon, I almost feel like that they're elevating a platform of basically Barnum and Bailey circus. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of, and from a certain aspect, it's kind of like going on Rush Limbaugh's show. You're basically going into an arena that is set up for you to fail.
It certainly is. And my question to myself is, how can I subvert that? Or can I subvert that? If I didn't think I could, or if I didn't think I could at least try to subvert it, this isn't like a 15-minute Fox and Friends, everybody shouts over each other. This is meant to be a moderated discussion that goes on for 2 hours. And one thing I would not debate is anyone's humanity. I won't debate my own humanity. I will not debate the humanity of other people. I don't think that discussing intersectionality in the way that they have it framed is doing that. If I thought it did, I wouldn't go. So,
do you have faith in the moderation?
No, but I think that what I do think is that the person who is moderating, who is his name is Dave Smalley. He's an atheist, and I've watched.
I thought you were going to say Dave Rubin, and I was going to go, no!
Wait, does Dave Rubin moderate? Because sometimes thinking back to the Blair White Candace Owens, like, I don't think he did a good job there. But it could be because of those two. But anyway, continue on.
I think Dave Smalley he's an atheist podcaster who is also, and I wasn't impressed, in fact, in his moderation of debates. I saw a debate that he did with Matt Dillahunty and Saiten Bruggencate. I don't know if I'm sort of talking outside of people's zones. But I do think he's self-important enough that he will attempt to make a good show of it. I don't think that he wants his brand to be harmed by presiding over a Jerry Springer show, if that makes sense to you. I have overthought this, so, but I'm just telling you my thought process there. I have researched every one of the people who are going to be countering me. I have watched them, read their stuff, look at the things that they have done. I have been studying up on intersectionality, and I believe that to the very, very small degree, I don't think that my show is the big show here, right? Like, people aren't tuning in to see Chrisiosity talk to Peter Boghossian. You know what I mean? But to the degree that I'm there and can make a counter, I believe I can do a reasonable job. And I believe not only that I can do it reasonably, but that I can think about it strategically in a way that means that I know what I'm looking to get out of the situation, right? I know I'm not just trying to put up a defense for intersectionality. I'm trying to show what the game is there. So there's a man named Clay Rutledge. I've discussed this before. He's on a lot of sort of religious groups that do education. Should he get his way, should the people whose groups that he's a part of get their way, our education system will be fucked. And he's trying to go in the back door of SJW. SJWs are so dumb. By the way, I'm not going to tell you this, but what I really want is to make it harder for poor people to go to college, and to make it easier for creationists, for very religious people to get a little something out of the college experience for Americans, right? Like, they don't have enough. they don't have a big enough piece of that pie.
Kind of like make the entire school system Liberty University.
Yeah, it would be it would be difficult to explain it all right here, but I've been reading up on the groups he wants. These are big money groups. These are sort of the Betsy DeVos ideologue types, right? What would Betsy DeVos do if she had if she didn't have people watching her, but was able to sort of influence the education system in different ways? And what he wants to do, what these groups want to do, should be completely 100% counter to what any atheist group would want. But they're so busy looking at the shiny little blue-haired chica in, here, look over here, don't look at us, look over here, that they're not looking at what's actually going on. They're not looking at the grift that's going on. I am hopeful that I can plant some seeds about the grift. And I don't know if I can do it. Maybe I can't. I think that looked at from a harm benefit sort of thing, what is the potential harm that I can do here? What's the potential benefit? I'm hoping that I can provide that benefit while minimizing the potential harms, just because if I'm talking to 3 PhDs. You're talking to somebody here who went to community college and couldn't afford to even get an associate's out of community college, right? You're just talking to somebody who reads a lot and has a YouTube channel so they can talk about stuff they've read about. I'm not anything, there's nothing to me. I'm a cartoon. I don't have a lot of subscribers. I don't have a lot of cachet. So I guess, and maybe this is my lack of self-esteem talking, but I don't believe that I bring enough to the table for it to be a major issue for me to be there. I think if Matt Dillahunty or Arn Ra went, it would be a disaster.
Well, wait a second. I almost wonder if there's some socialization issues going on here, because what degree does Matt Dillahunty have? He's not a PhD that I'm aware of. Do you know what I mean? There are plenty of quote skeptics in the community that aren't academics.
I believe that he was some sort of, I want to say, software engineer, that he had a job as a software engineer for some years. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, but I think his credentials come from more his ability to debate than they do from his software engineer. I guess what I'm getting at, I wouldn't discount yourself because of that. Mm-hmm. There are plenty of people in the skeptic community that have a platform that are not PhDs. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and you at least went to community college. The most I did, I went to community college to take the test, and that was it. And now, if it's free, sure, but then it'll take up in time. And I just try to read as much as I can, or at least learn as much as I can from YouTube. So there's that. But I try to learn from good sources, essentially. Hey, and I don't even read that much, despite the number of books that I accumulated. So, hey, curiosity. Even if you don't have that many subscribers, you have wonderful subscribers. I mean,
That's true. I didn't mean to disqualify
Exactly.
the
Your patrons are the
extraordinary.
best.
They are. They're the best looking, most intelligent, and they have the greatest sense of taste and culture.
Even if they don't have PhDs.
mhm.
You know, I mean, maybe I am. Maybe I am selling myself short, and maybe that's something that I should look at.
Well, I personally think that like someone that is more humble and selling themselves a little short is much better than someone saying, "Don't you know who I am? I have all these things. I'm well respected in all the crowds." It's someone who boasts too much and stuff like that. So it's like, if of those two, I prefer someone who's like humble, but yet, yeah, one could sell themselves too short and stuff like that. But it's a
I think
balance.
humility is a lost is a lost art or something. Humility is something that people desperately need.
But do you think when it comes to, because I almost think when it comes to the secular community, I mean, you talked about Matt Dillahunty. I really do think his popularity is based on his ability to deconstruct arguments in the moment. But it's kind of in a way of he owns people pretty hard, and I almost think that that's what people want to see. They come to see like Christopher Hitchens like rip apart. I mean, you can look at the videos on YouTube, and it's like Christopher Hitchens destroys blah blah blah, and I almost think that like sometimes in the secular community, it's not about the actual debate itself, but about ownage, and it's almost I think I hate to say it because I'm on YouTube at the moment, but it's almost like that kind of culture has become kind of popularized. I mean, because even like if you're talking about Bering or uh, Carl,
Yeah, they're
you
garbage.
know, but you get their videos. So and so destroys blah blah blah, and it's like it's almost like this gladiator bullshit, and it has nothing to do with the argument at hand or the facts that undergird the debate. It literally is about I'm going to destroy you.
And first of all, I should suggest that you just watch the hell out of Malmrose Projects, who's wonderful. I've had her on um, my channel before. I'm a huge fan of everything that she does.
Yeah, they are great. I love their video games. It's still Mel dominated series, and their video on the skeptic community, why they wear all those suits, was brilliant. And it's just like, and so now I need to go back. I'm also a patron of theirs, and I need to go back to go and watch their film analysis, because that is one of the things that are like, I consider myself a pretend movie reviewer only because I've never been to college to take film appreciation, and also if I compare myself to like Movie Bob, who has like seen a whole catalog of movies that I've never seen, and I haven't even like seen the classics, in a way. So that's why I kind of say I'm a pretend movie reviewer on my channel. But what I do know about film analysis comes from watching YouTube channels like Lindsay Ellis and Dan Olson and Melrose Project. So I just want to put that out, that I need to watch her stuff again. Their stuff is great. Melrose is great.
Yeah. I think one of the things, and I think this is something that you're getting at, is logic is slow. Logic and critical thinking are slow processes. They are not flashy. They don't produce this outcome of ponage or this gladiator thing. That's garbage. And the fact that they are presenting this as logic and reason, when in fact
It's
It is
fucking
what you're
toxic.
saying. It's
It's
just
toxic
fucking toxic
masculinity.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's fucking toxic masculinity, like personified.
Yeah. It is. And they, that was, oh God, what was the name? The skeptic community, why they wear those fucking suits. I can't remember what it was, but it was brilliant.
Hegemonic masculinity.
Yeah. So it's a tricky question. I don't think there's one answer to it. I don't think that there's an easy way around it. One of the things that I want to talk about when I get there is that I think that the entire atheist secular community has gone so far in the wrong direction that I don't even know where to start to fix that. And I don't think anybody does, but we need to get rid of the thought leaders. We need to get rid of even the idea of thought leaders. You know what I mean? These people are nothing but people who run around getting their egos stroked and saying quasi-racist things all the time. It's bullshit. And what is needed, what is desperately needed in America and all over the globe, is a secular movement that is ready for a secular revolution, because it is happening. And people who have grown up, who have been brought up in religions that have told them all their lives that there's something deeply and terribly wrong with them because they're gay, because they're trans, because they're women, they have to have a place to go. You know, they're just stranded with all this shit when they leave religion. And it's such a problem. And there's so many people out there. There are still child brides in America on a large scale, not a small one. There are still people getting their asses kicked for being gay.
Yeah.
There's still these re-education centers. There are still women being treated as baby factories. It's what's going on, what's allowed to go on under our sort of religious people need to have endless amounts of respect and consideration and not have anyone look at them, is an incredible amount of human pain and psychological pain and despair. And what the atheist community has decided to offer them is a way to argue against the Kalam argument for God's existence. It's fucked up. That's nothing. That's not what people need. And they don't, because these were white men that started out, white cis men, they didn't fucking need religion, right? They don't have these problems that mean that someday they're going to have to go with their kids and say, you got anything we can eat? You got anything that we can maybe give the landlord today? Because we're desperate. They don't have, they haven't been to they can afford to go to a place to deal with their drug addictions. They don't have to show up at some, every other Thursday meeting to get what little that they can get out of whatever at the local Congregationalist church. They don't have to do that. They haven't been brought up like a person of color, where the churches were the community centers and the only safe harbors for them and the place where they could go to focus on how do we fix these problems that we have in our community and how do we fight back, because these are the only places that they could possibly go that would be taken from them.
Well, it's funny because I I have felt like ever since I came out as trans and being, I think I came out as trans and became an atheist roughly at the same time. It must have been some demon, but I must have been filled with some spirit or something. But I think I've had a rough time of finding a place within because there's a huge problem with toxic masculinity in the secular movement. Probably the only place that I felt really at home, I spoke to the Secular Women's Conference. That was amazing. Shout out to the Women's Work Conference that's coming. I believe it's coming up soon.
Yeah, it's coming up, and I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh my God. But I know some people who are going to that. It's supposed to be fabulous.
Tom McDonald's going to that one. We're sending the Christy Winter's Winter Snowflakes group is sending Tom McDonald to the Secular Women's Work Conference. I know that, so it's coming up soon. But the dates, mid-August is my guess right now. Someone will correct us for sure.
But I definitely have found community in places like that, and with certain atheist bloggers. But it's really, you know, there is a huge problem with, like I said, with toxic masculinity when it comes to the secular community, because it's what you were saying as far as I think of trans women of color that I've known have told me, you know, when I kind of go on about my atheist beliefs, they're talking about it's like, what are you asking me to give up? You're asking me to give up basically my support network when you're asking me to give up my religion. And because there's such a connection of community, in especially in oppressed communities. Churches are a place of support and of kind of shielding against a lot of the bullshit. So I do get that from that aspect. I can respect that, but at the same time, I'm trying to find I'm trying to find community as a as I consider myself an atheist, but finding community has been pretty hard, because it's just so. I mean, when I look at YouTube accounts like yours or Christie's or Kevin's, and y'all put out some amazing content, and you're getting a minority number of views because you're not basically being sprinklers of hate and division. But I kind of wonder if that it almost seems like a reality television type of setup where people kind of get popular based on their kind of playing to people's fears and hatred.
Yeah.
Because so much of like the crap that's going on now, the move to the right, all over the world has a lot to do with what happened in 2007, 2008 with the economy, and the wealthy don't want the blame to be put on them. So basically, they're pushing this immigrants, blame the immigrants, because there are plenty of people out there to say, yeah, those immigrants took my jobs, and it's like, I hate to say it, I hate to kind of refer to him, but there's a comedian, I think his name's Doug Stanhope.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, how pathetic are you if somebody that is shoeless, that just came over the border, that can't speak the language, and you're replaceable, by these people that can't speak the language and don't have a place. If they've taken your jobs, then what does that say about you? Um, I tend to I see this huge like shift of blaming it's blame shifting onto the people that can least afford to or don't have a pedestal. They don't have a place that they can respond to these things because uh, I'll give you for instance, like here in the UK, with the here the media is solidly right wing. You have basically five guys that own all the newspapers, and they're pretty much, except for the Guardian and the Independent, which have tiny readerships compared to the Telegraph and all the other uh, right wing papers. You have these tropes that'll come out with anti-trans stuff, and that's why I started Trans Advocate in the UK, the UK version, because we need to have a place where we can put out our voices because they're not being the people that have the reasoned arguments don't have a podium. They don't have they aren't being heard, and this is where I struggle because it's kind of like, do you go into like what you're going into? Do you go into the lion's den that is basically set up to eat you,
Mm-hmm.
to further your goals? Um, and again, I'm seeing visions of Gladiator, but but do you do that, or do you like focus on building a community that's based on kind of more progressive? Because I tend to think that you're going to get people that are going to say, oh, you're atheism plus um throwback from
I certainly will. I can tell you that I have talked to many people who used to be shitlords, and really it's a maturity process for them. And part of that, I think, is having someone there at the right moment to sort of say, hey, kiddo, maybe you haven't gotten the world figured out as a cis white dude at 18. Maybe think about that. Maybe think about how there might be things that you haven't even considered in this universe that happen to people and that people are dealing with, and you don't know the first fucking thing about them, and you don't need to think you know the first fucking thing about them. I don't know. I actually think that you're right. I think that the left needs to invest in its own fucking platforms. And oh boy, that's tricky. Um, we have a lot of problems with internal fighting, and I don't mean like I don't. If you're a TERF, I don't consider you on the left. I think that if you've gone in for some sort of, I think that bigots end up being right wing. You know what I mean?
well,
Um,
I think if you look at it, like TERFs basically form their ideology, or gender critical feminists. They define their ideology basically on the works of people like Janice Raymond and Mary Daly. And guess what? They both had theology degrees. That's not a coincidence. They're
mm,
conservatives. They have a conservative outlook. They have a conservative history. They have a conservative point of view. Um, just because there was a comic that I always like to kind of refer to, where it shows like these two women and they're talking to each other, and one looks like they're kind of butch, and the other one looks like they're kind of like the stereotypically like a almost like a what do you call it, like a old time kind of Christian, not just like Baptist, but like real holy roller. Don't cut your hair. Don't. Do you know what I mean? But they're sitting there talking about how trans people. Oh my God, they're trying to. They're having this conversation about how awful it is that trans women are in bathrooms, blah blah blah, and at the end of it, one of them says, "Oh, I'm a radical feminist. Oh, I'm a Christian," and then they're like turned off by each other because of that. But at the same time, they're espousing the same ideology, and I kind of think that's right on the money. It is a conservative ideology at the end of the day.
I think I was tricked at first into thinking, oh, maybe these are just people who have a limited point of view and maybe haven't experienced certain things, and maybe they just need more education. Because I needed a lot of education, and I still feel like I need a lot of education when it comes to some of these sort of non-binary gender issues and trans issues. I'm a cis woman, so I don't automatically know these things, So that's what I had thought was going on. And when I sort of went into these spaces and just sort of watched and spoke to people, it was like, oh no, no. These people are fucking assholes. These are bigots. That's what they are. They're just prejudiced assholes who are trying to use language of the left, but it's not leftism. It's very conservative. It's very reactionary, and it is very bigoted. And they are holding hard to their bigotry. So I don't know. I don't even think. I just disagree with people who. And I don't say this in the sense of trying to be like, left people can't have racism, left people can't do this, left people can't do that. I think that to sort of hold to a position of bigotry and prejudice is an inherently reactionary and conservative position, because you're trying to stop some sort of change or advancement in society, if that makes sense.
No, I definitely think that's right on the money as far as like, because basically I think people love to think of things in binary on off, yes no kind of positions, and they don't like spectrums at all, and it scares people. I mean, I did a post where on Trans Advocate where I kind of tricked people. I took quotes from I pretended like they were quotes about Rachel Maddow, but I revealed at the end they were actually anti-trans quotes about Ann Coulter, and they were from people that consider themselves very leftist, but they're sexist as fuck and transphobic as fuck when it comes to Ann Coulter, calling her horse face and saying she's a he, and that she has an Adam's apple, and you can go down the list, and it's like where are your that's not feminism, that is not intersectionality, that is not
yeah, even things like when I see Trump and Putin gay memes, oh, it drives me crazy. It's like really pisses me off. It's like, fuck you. They're not gay. They're corrupt. They're authoritarian fascists.
Well, and
if they were sucking each other's dicks, that would be the least horrible thing that they could possibly be doing.
Well,
yeah, at least that's love and affection. But anyway, you go ahead.
Well, but even with Trump, I mean, they'll fat shame him as well.
Yeah, don't attack someone for something they don't have control with. It's their ideas that you should criticize. Don't criticize them because of they're a woman or they're trans or they're heavy set or that's yeah. I mean, I've reconsidered like making the Putin Trump memes after watching Nisha Sarkeesian's second episode on The Freak. That actually did like kind of like change my opinion a little about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I do think because we're so used to those insults, they're sort of a go-to, right? And we have to resist that. We have to resist slut shaming Melania. We have to resist fat shaming people. We have to resist these sort of things and stop and think, what the fuck are we doing? Like this is, but yes, I do understand that this is what we've been trained and had ingrained in us from, I don't know, from when I was very tiny, that this is, this is what you're supposed to insult people about.
Well, and it almost to me it points to the same thing that we've been talking about this whole time. There's a sexiness to like going in and basically punching someone in the face with like attacking somebody basically on their health or their slut shaming or whatever. Those kind of things are they get eyeballs. It's lowest common denominator. Sadly, when and that's kind of the problem that I have with with debating shitlords when it comes down to it, or going into an arena where it becomes once you've stepped into that arena, you've lost. Before you even open your mouth, you've lost because you become part of the circus, and you're not there. You're there as a vehicle for them to basically ride you to get more eyeballs. And one of the biggest things with I do understand why you're going, and I understand like from that point of view. One of the things the podcast with on the Brainstorm podcast with Karen, is her name Garst?
Mm-hmm.
I just really have a problem with this attitude of I'm going in to have a debate with we should debate everyone, and there's so much fucking privilege in that,
Yeah.
because what you're debating, like when you're debating about trans people's lives, especially with cis people, when they're debating about trans people's lives, it's not, if it was just some where you're going to sit on a rock and put your hand on your chin and wonder about these questions and have a friendly debate that has no impact on the lives of people, that's one thing. But that's not reality. The reality is that when we have trans people have about 20 years worth of legislation of in places like Minnesota where we've had public accommodations where we can go into bathrooms, and we've been doing it for 2 decades, and there's not been any problems with trans people going into bathrooms. But yet that narrative, it has legs because of toxic masculinity and the fucking gladiator circus.
It has legs and a half. It
people like to see that. They want to use, because I had a discussion. I had not a debate, but on Twitter, I had some guy say, "Well, there are two sexes, and if you don't believe that, then you don't believe in science. And I just popped in the link to actual fucking scientists fucking talking about this spectrum that is sex. And these people use like a fucking, they're, well, when I had biology in my freshman year of high school, um,
Yeah, no, oh, believe me, I know.
but that kind of discussion does have legs. I don't know if you heard me when I talked about there was a person on Twitter that posted something about not debating certain questions, like should we treat everyone that has cancer. We shouldn't debate that. The answer should be yes.
Yeah.
It my issue is the biggest problem I have when it comes to debates, when it comes to trans focused stuff, especially when it's cis people that are debating it, is the facts don't fucking matter. Once a trans person gets on that stage, they are basically used as equal time. We're going to let you talk, but what usually happens is those people are basically used as uh, a vehicle to get the talking points of things that are sexy, that trans women are predators. That's a sexy thing. People want to believe that. They want to believe that. There's something like in our fucking brains that for some reason we like to popularize that, but that's not reality. It isn't backed up by any statistics. You cannot, if you want to go to Twitter and type in the hashtag still not trans, you'll see plenty of cis people that have had issues in bathrooms.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
Well, and the thing is, it's kind of like you want to talk about trans people in bathrooms and make that this huge fucking issue. And the reality is, if you're using that same argument, then cis women should not be teachers of children, especially boys, because if you look at that hashtag, you'll literally see that there are women that sexually abuse students, teachers. But if we're going to go along that same logic and say that because literally for the past 20 years, TERFs have been looking for trans women that are predators to use them as an excuse to kind of further this meme. But it's not about facts, and facts don't matter. And numbers don't matter, and statistics don't matter. It's all about the rhetoric. And the rhetoric is something that I just have a real issue with trying to, again, debate the validity of my life, not based on facts, but based on tropes. Basically, that I contend that the trans community, and this is just me from like what I know from like my own thing, but I think it plays into the secular community as well, because there are these tropes, as like with feminism or Me Too. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm like, has Me Too went too far? No, it hasn't gone far enough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I keep saying. Not even started yet, you fuckers. No, I do understand. I don't want, like I said, I don't want to debate anybody's humanity. I refuse to. Like, that's not a conversation that I'm willing to have with people. And it is, oh God, it is difficult. Is there a way to do this? Is there a way to play, to turn this game around? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there isn't. But the Taoist in me thinks maybe there is. You know, maybe there's a way to sort of, if not win, because there isn't any winning here. There's no win, right? Is there a way to make them pay? Is there a way to draw a little blood? These metaphors are not going to endear me to anyone.
They endear me. They endear you to me. So they work
that's
for some
good.
people. We must make them pay.
There will be blood.
I still need to see that movie. Anyway.
And speaking to the Magic Theater, believe me, I'm pondering all the positions here at great length. It's driving me crazy. I'm driving myself crazy.
Well, and I do appreciate that, because here's the thing: when I listen to Karen's reasoning and I listen to yours, I definitely see that there's a distinction, because I don't feel like that you're going into this going, we need to debate everything. We need to have debate with everyone. I don't think that you just said
bullshit.
Yes.
Some ideas have a body count. Let's call it like it is. Some ideas come with teeth, and they will hurt people if they're allowed to sink their teeth in. They will. It isn't a maybe. It isn't a possibly. If racism, ableism, transphobia win the day, then people will die and people will be hurt. And there's no two ways about that. And I don't know how to stop that the best way. I don't know what the best way is to keep that from happening. But I do want to keep it from happening.
Well, and I really can appreciate your kind of perspective from the standpoint of you don't feel like, if I'm wrong, because I kind of took from what you said that you feel like that you just feel like, you don't have this huge platform, and you're actually kind of going into this to kind of that you could possibly raise yourself up a bit to kind of get your message to people that might not otherwise hear it.
They wouldn't, and some people said, oh, you don't need to be there in order to sort of create a rebuttal or whatever. I know that, but nobody's coming to find out what my rebuttal is. Like, if I'm there, they don't have a choice but to hear it. What are they going to do? Turn it off while I'm talking and turn it back on when other people are talking?
I don't know. They may do go the Thomas Smith route and just boo the shit out of you, or
they might. And I'd like to think that I'm sort of going to be aware of that possibility and thinking of ways that I can counter it, or at least leverage it. Because there's a significant number of people that I have no hope of reaching, right? Were I given the voice of angels and the rhetorical power of Homer and Shakespeare and Clarence Darrow all rolled into one, it's not going to help them. Right? It's not going to help because their minds are made the fuck up. But there will be people who will hear me. There have been in the past. I've had people come to me. I've had people come to me and say, thank you for being there because I was going down a dark path. And if you hadn't spoken up, I would have kept going down that path because nobody else, you were the only one that was there at the time that I heard. But beyond that, you want to know, there are two things that convinced me to go, and I will tell you what those two things are. The first major thing that convinced me to go was Mike Rowland's, because they're going, and they are, and I hope this isn't offensive to people, but I call them my bro sister, because they're my non-binary sibling that I don't have a better word for in my heart. And I would never have them go anywhere without backup. It's a comrade thing. And it's very important to me. And I was worried for them. I am worried for them. Then there is the second thing was that stupid fucking UK free speech rally, right? So there's this free speech rally that Tommy Robinson puts on. It's got Sargon of Akkad and it's got all these other assholes, right? And there's like 10 people there who are just there to talk about xenophobia against Muslims and all this other crap. And there's one Muslim guy, Ali Dawa, I want to say is his name, but I'm not 100%.
I think that was that Kevin Logan has talked about that, so people can go to that video or hang out and to figure that out. There's background noise. Sorry for that.
Oh, no problem at all. I feel bad because I think you've been kind of minimized because of the background noise, but that's okay.
It's fine. I'm enjoying being here and hearing the conversation, and maybe like pop in when like I get a chance. Besides, I don't want to be a interrupter and interrupt the two women that hang out.
You are a prince of the realm, sir. Anyway,
can I ask you a kind of off-topic question?
Sure.
Because Fallout 2 Forever in chat kind of mentioned this, and I've never really kind of like, because I just came into this kind of just like I haven't been here from the start, blah blah blah, whatever. Mm-hmm. So because they said they're concerned about let's see, something about you being doxxed, I think.
I am concerned about that too. I don't plan to be
well,
sorry?
Before you go into that, can you kind of, because I've never really, because I kind of got the when I listened to your Brainstorm podcast, the interview that you did, you never specifically came out and said I'm semi-anonymous, but just I kind of got that gist. Is there a reason for that? Or do you think you can keep that kind of going on by going to this? I mean, because basically these people get off on doxing people for sure.
It's a very good question, and one I've also been debating. So I have, my plan is not to show my eyes whatsoever, right? And not to show my real name, and not to allow, because yes, there have been threats, right? I don't know how serious they are, but because I actually, as an online person, have layers People don't know what I've done. Like there are layers of false identities going in different directions, so that people don't find out exactly who I am and where I live and where my kids live, which is more important. The fact was that my kids were the ones that were threatened. That's for myself. I don't care so much because what the fuck, I don't care. But I remember one of the first threats that I got was Chrisiosity, I will rape your dead children. And I couldn't stop shaking for hours. But I plan to go as my cartoon character and not show my eyes and not and have makeup on and things that will not allow me to be easily doxxed, and not again show my name. I don't usually bring this up. I don't bring up the threats, and I don't bring up the need for anonymity because I don't want that to be that threat to be increased, and it would be increased. I think if a lot of people.
I think you just have to, and Sarkeesian, I think you just have to look at that whole thing to know kind of like the level of vitriol and grossness.
I'm sorry. I was just told in the chat that I really should have given a content warning for that. And I'm sorry. I should have. You're right.
Well, I understand the need for that, but at the same time, I understand that's something you're obviously kind of, moved by that. I think I kind of wonder, like, because like there are people. I hate to bring it back. For me, a lot of this kind of revolves around what I know, and the whole like, because TERFs love to dox. They love to dox people, and that is such a trans people especially, and it comes down to basically shutting you up.
Well, that is what it is. That's what they want to do, is shut people up, and it works. It works a lot, and
well, especially if they're threatening your children, because there's nothing more like no amount of argument is worth your kids' safety, and I totally fucking get that. To be honest with you, this kind of advocacy that I do is a lot easier because my kids are grown, and I don't have to. I always kind of had issues with trans people that would bring their kids into, like, they would have them on television shows and interviews and stuff. It's like, because you're exposing your kids to an audience that there are people in this world, yes, they might support you, but there are also people that will see you as a heathen that needs to be rebuked or whatever, and they're kind of, they can be unhinged. There are people that are violent, and I do understand that, and I do kind of understand your need for anonymity in that aspect.
Yeah.
I just want Sorry to interrupt. There you go. I just interrupted it, and I said I wouldn't do that. But I'm on my cell phone, and right now it's at like 26%. So I greatly enjoyed the opportunity to hang out with you, Christiosity, and Marty. It was great to talk to you again, and goodbye to the chat. So I'm gonna sign off for now. But thank you for the conversation.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being a Patreon and for all
no
your support,
problem.
darling.
Yes. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.
No.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for bringing all this up. I feel like
No, not at all. Not at all. I think it's important that we have this conversation.
How did you wreck Christiosity's channel? 101.
You're not gonna wreck my channel. It's an important. This is an important conversation to have. Whether different people's IQ scores is not an important conversation that anybody needs to have anymore for the last 20, 30 years. But this is an important conversation. And I don't feel like I've got an answer. I wish I did. I genuinely do. I wish I had the answer for this, and I wish that I knew what the right way to go. I was telling you the second thing that I had made up my mind. Can I take like 30 seconds, maybe a minute, to just sort of take 2 deep breaths and then come back?
Sure, of course.
Is that cool?
That's cool.
All right, guys, I will be back and I will be better. I will.
It looks like we're still live. Should I play some Julie Andrews? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to look in the chat. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry for. I was just kind of. Maybe my curiosity got the best of me. I don't want to seem like I'm attacking. I mean, I'm not. I'm totally not. But it's more of just asking the question as far as. I don't know. I mean, the whole thing with shitlords is they're gonna shitlord. So Daniel's asking, what's the Jedi's Twitter? It's MartiAbernathey, which is long, but it's Marty Abernathy on Twitter. I used to have a Darth Vader, like an LGBT Darth Vader icon. Someone basically made some comment about me being evil and something about the Force. So basically I went with it, and I kind of think of the whole Sith Lord and the whole about absolutes. So that's where the icon came from.
Hey, all right, so I'm back. All right, so I was talking about the other thing that sort of convinced me that this was a good idea. So I was talking about how in the UK, do people know about this free speech rally with Tommy Robinson and all these other assholes?
Oh my God! So I was in a group, just about our local group here, and we got one of the free Tommy fucking assholes coming in, just like a local group that talks about fly tipping, which is like trash litter, basically, and about local events. And there's this person that comes on spouting fucking free Tommy Robinson bullshit. So yes.
Yeah. So this free speech rally comes on, and there is, for 10 people talking about how Islam is not compatible with the West and we're in a fight and, it's us or them and all that other bullshit. And they're all over here just to rape our children. There's one Muslim person who gets on the roster. And despite the fact that this is supposedly a free speech event, Tommy Robinson deplatforms him, right? And there's even some like mild violence, like people pushing each other around over the whole thing. And it's like, you're watching it and you're going, was 10 people versus one guy not enough, like, for you to make your case? Or like, that everybody in this audience is already an Islamophobic, racist son of a bitch, right? Like, they're not coming here because of their liberal values, loving of free speech. That's garbage, right? They call it a free speech rally because the I hate brown people rally doesn't sound as good, So, like, so I'm watching this and wondering what the hell is going on, why they would even bother to go that level of deplatforming. And it occurs to me, it's just because they don't want an actual person there. Like, they don't, this sort of bigotry and hate is just so much easier to keep pushing into people.
If it's not a person.
If there's not a human being, if there's not a person, if no one is standing up there. And that's where I'm saying, well, maybe we always do need somebody to stand there. Like, maybe we need to continually remind people that they're talking to about people and to people. I don't know. I mean, I hear exactly what you're saying, where like having the trans person there and having like equal time to trans persons means that you can just shit on them, right? I totally get that. And you've sort of given yourself a license because, well, we had a trans person on. They could have, magically done something to fix all the bigotry and all the lies and all the bad faith that we were shoving in people's faces. I get that. I really do. But I also get that there was a reason that Tommy Robinson was afraid to have this guy stand up and give a 5-minute fucking speech, just saying, not all Muslims are bad, and some of us like England. Like, what was he going to say while being booed?
Well,
like,
and I kind of feel like, from a certain aspect, when you have fuckers like this that come to prominence, there was a civil, not too many people know about him, but there was a civil rights leader back in the 60s. His name was Bayard Rustin. Are you familiar with him at all?
No.
He was gay, and he got busted back in the 50s, and people tried to shame and discount Martin Luther King by basically including him into the movement and in a place of high prominence. But when you talk about Martin Luther King and nonviolence, the person that espoused that to him in the beginning was Bayard Rustin. The because he had traveled to India and been kind of a follower of Gandhi, and so he organized the March on Washington. He was one of the main organizers of the March on Washington. But one of the things that one of the quotes that I love from him, he said, the job of the gay community is not to deal with extremists who would castigate us or put us on an island or drop an H-bomb on us. The fact of the matter is there are a small percentage of people in America who understand the true nature of the homosexual community. There is another small percentage who will never understand this. Our job is not to get those people who dislike us to love us, nor was the aim of the civil rights movement to get prejudiced white people to love us. Our aim was to try to create the kind of America, legislatively, morally, and psychologically, such that even though some whites continued to hate us, they could not openly manifest that hate. That's our job today, to control the extent to which people can publicly manifest anti-gay sentiment. And he wrote that in 1986 about gay people, but I think it applies to the context of today. When you're talking about SJWs, I think we're fucking winning, and the people can't openly manifest their hatred in like for instance, like with TERFs. TERFs can't come out and say I fucking hate trannies. They can't say that. If they say that these days, they have to mask it in layers of bullshit. Right. And these guys, these dude bros, they can't come out and say I fucking hate women. They have to do it in these layers of hatred that are masked in legitimacy. And that, I mean, to me, that's what Jordan Peterson is. It's just a mask for toxic masculinity. But I do feel like there's a certain aspect of that, the reality that isn't something that can be openly manifested today. We are at, I wouldn't say an end point, because you always have to continually fight this kind of bullshit. I mean, I can't believe it's 2018 and we're fighting about fucking abortion rights.
Right. It just keeps coming up. It's perennial, like a fucking weed.
Well,
Sorry.
You got to keep fighting it, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, I kind of go back and forth, and I do appreciate you going and trying to fight the good fight.
Well, that's what I'm going to try to do. And you know what? If I fail, I'm going to hate myself. But it is the best thing that I know to do in today's environment, in today's what's going on in terms of what's happening right now. And I hope that the left gets its shit together enough that we don't have to keep taking other people's platforms, that we have better platforms of our own, because what we don't have is the money. We don't have the influence. We don't have any of that. But what we do have is the numbers, and we have the people, and we have a lot more of the will of the people than we know that we have. And we need to stop being afraid to build on that and to build from that. And that is my word for the day, I guess. I think I think that's where the future is. The future can't be, like you say, these kinds of cons. The future for us can't be damage control and trying to keep the fires from hitting a certain peak. We have to be smarter than this. and we have to be more proactive. I could, you or somebody else can do this for now, but people have to start thinking about how we're going to fix this in a better way for tomorrow and the next day and the day after that, so that we don't have to do this anymore. And I agree with you. I think that there are these other cons going on.
By the way, Secular Women's Work is in Minneapolis on August 24th through the 26th.
And everybody who's in that area should definitely go there. And we should be promoting things. When I bring people on my channel, and I hate to say it, like when I bring Peter Coffin on, when I bring Scotch Straws on, I don't get a lot of people watching those. But it's important that we promote leftists, right? And it's important that we promote the people that are doing good work on our side, and it doesn't have to have anything to do with being against their side, because ultimately that's not what we're about. Ultimately, we're about creating something better for everyone. Not that there's nothing there to be mad about, not that there's nothing that we shouldn't be railing against, but we have to try to balance that. But we also have to, as leftists, we have to promote each other, and we have to promote marginalized people a lot better than we're doing, especially on YouTube, and stop making fucking excuses for not doing that.
Well, I kind of think that, let me put it to you this way. Back in the early 2000s, the aughts, I did a lot of kind of queer live broadcasting. A friend of mine in DC, we actually ran like a gay dance channel, and it was called Circuit Candy. But we also did a live show, a LGBT show, and it was kind of like before its time. I think the stuff that we were doing was pretty like in our basement kind of thing, but it was kind of before YouTube and before really even, I mean, back in the day, it was like Live 365 was the platform that we were all kind of around and broadcasting off of. Their podcasting wasn't even really a thing back then. But I think if we're in the early days of like the left kind of, because Peter Coffin is a good example. I mean, the content that he puts out is really amazing. And I do think we do need to promote a lot of the content creators that don't get a lot of views because they aren't shitlording, basically.
Yeah. And it's true, and we have to like find a way around that. And part of that is just the nature of the left, and it's even in me that I see it. Like,
I do think there are some inspirational things, though. I'll give you an example. ContraPoints?
Yep.
Fucking the way she does shit is just amazing. I mean, there's comedy, there's theater. She does some. If she just talked about the issue itself, I would be fucking probably asleep. And most people would, but she makes it like she recently did a video on the West. And if you were reading a book on that, I would probably read that before bed so I could get a good night's sleep. But it was very interesting, and I think like maybe having content that is multi-layered, and it's entertainment too as well. I mean, I hate to say that, but you have to entertain people as well as educate. It's like almost like infotainment in a way. I mean,
Yeah.
even with Peter, I mean, his stuff is kind of funny as well as informational. Because I mean, I love the shit out of me some Chomsky, but if I listen to him for more than 20 minutes, I'm going to be asleep.
Yeah.
Because it's great information, but at the same time, it's not, you know, it's not kind of like, it's not Hollywooded up. It's not packaged up in a way that is interesting to people.
Stop calling me out. You bitch.
You're welcome. But I definitely think that no, to be honest with you, you're one of the few people that has. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I'm a patron is because I feel like there's a community of people out there that kind of have the same values. And because I hate to say it, I used to be a Christian. I used to be evangelical Christian. Jesus saved me from being trans. You can actually read about that. I did a piece on that called XX Transsexual. But because I used to be one, XX trans, basically. I won't even go into that. But
if you want to like pass that over, I'll link it in the description for people.
Okay. But I do see a lot of these, and I won't mention any names. Thinking atheist. Seth Andrews. There are people that it does seem like they go from being Christian fundamentalists to being secular fundamentalists. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and there's never that kind of, there's a switch in kind of the belief in God, but there's a lot of the same kind of patriarchal bullshit carries on over into the secular community.
Yeah.
Joy to the world.
The Lord is come.
I'm just trying to fill your channel with light and love.
And you do. No, I've had a great time. I should say, no, I'm really legitimately thankful for this conversation because it has, I feel like I've needed it. I've needed somebody to sort of talk to me about these things and make sure that I'm coming from the right place. You know what I mean? And
well, that's kind of why I mentioned Karen. I don't mean to bash her, but I don't feel like that you guys are in the same place as far as that. I don't feel like that you're seeing this as a, you know, a debate that has no impact as far as on the lives of people. That's kind of where I think Karen was. I think there's a shit ton of privilege in that, because I have the hardest time when people talk about these things like they don't impact lives, like what you're talking about when people debate, you know, the Tommy Robinson bullshit. People have said over and over and over again, the guy has said in court he's guilty, you know.
Yeah.
Himself. And then there's this, I mean, we have fucking Steve Bannon over here, for fuck's sake, literally getting media time and legitimacy, and it's unbelievable to me. But I do think it's not a binary thing. I'm not saying I don't think that you should go. I was just kind of trying to understand where you're coming from, because I didn't feel like on the Brainstorm podcast that I know the constraints of their kind of, because he wanted to have a full interview. I was just kind of curious, kind of your thinking as far as going into, because I hate to say it, but the whole Thomas Smith thing was, to me, was a debacle of purport. He was like, it was like a slaughter because he was there basically to, so shitlords could basically, when he says, I can't believe, do you guys actually believe this? And, he was genuinely appalled, and I understand why he was appalled. But they're not, they're not honest brokers. And this is,
some people, and people came out afterwards to say that, oh, they weren't really cheering sexual harassment. The fuck they weren't. The fuck they weren't.
I mean, when he's literally saying, like, I would not even rape you, were people cheering that.
Yeah. Like, and people would come out and say, well, they were just cheering for Carl. Well, they were cheering for Carl, and why? Let's talk about a difference without a distinction. Let's talk about how Carl has created and nurtured his brand then. Because it's all the same thing. Do these people think that all these people that are out there doing the sexual harassment, doing the raping, doing the assaulting, just like disappear at the end of the day and don't like go and look for, I don't know, YouTube videos they might want to see? Is that what they think? That they're just ghosts or specters that don't have a desire to have people come along and say, no, what you're doing is just great, honey. It's just great, the way that you stick it to these women, these terrible women.
They need to learn their place. They need, that's almost how it comes off.
So it's a load of crap. And I don't know. Anyway, we have been here for
well, it's actually where I'm at. It's actually 3:00 in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
So this is how much I love your channel. Well, that, and I'm working night shift tomorrow, so I have to stay up late. But because I do have a real job. I have a real job and a real life. This is my.
I try to avoid those as much as possible.
I want to thank you for like all that you do, and I hope I didn't like take this down a dark road, because I do appreciate the work that you do. I wouldn't support you if I didn't.
No, I'm glad to have it brought up, and I'm glad for the opportunity to talk about it. I think that we should talk about it. I think people on the left should have this conversation in as good a ways that we can figure out how to have it. And on that note, I'm going to tell people, I'm going to wrap this up if that's cool, that I am going to have the second part of the Rocky series out, and I am taking a lot of time to sort of prepare for the MythCon thing. Like I mentioned, I am taking it seriously, so there is going to be a sort of a downturn in the output, but it's not because I'm not working. It's not because I'm not doing things. It's hopefully because I don't want to repeat any debacles.
I kind of have, now that you're saying Rocky, I kind of have this image of you at your PC, like furiously typing in different websites, and they're dun 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 dun.
Getting stronger. I'm sorry.
Doing your secular push-ups.
I need a montage, but it will be the world's most boring montage. But it should still exist, really.
You basically you ate your computer with your wine.
Yeah. Going, no, that's no good.
Dear God. What have I got myself into?
Yeah, slamming my head repeatedly against the desk, that sort of thing. And let's see. Oh, and this was my first Patreon hangout because I'm very, very thankful to all my Patreons and to everybody that's supporting me, because it really is important and is helping me avoid having a real job and doing this instead. So, for anybody who likes what I do, that would be awesome if you would follow whatever links I put in and do that. And
first rule. Always self-promote. Your Patreon is?
Just Patreon/Curiosity, I think.
How do you spell that?
Oh, goodness. There's a U in there. That confuses people.
Yes, and if they would have listened to your brainstorm interview, they would know that. But yeah, it's definitely a worthy what you're doing. The work that you're doing is vital. It needs the voices especially from the left. You just really have a lot of people that are a lot of voices out there that basically are not saying what needs to be said because they don't want to anger certain people on their, and I'll just say it. There are male skeptics that don't want to alarm or piss off their dude bros in their community, so they don't address things like Lawrence Krauss. They don't address things like the sexism within the secular community, or the bullshit narratives that certain people put out when it comes to well, I tend to think of like when a certain someone uses pay to play journals, and then if you know what I'm referencing,
I do.
But they won't talk about those issues, and I think when you have whatever you want to call it, leftist or atheism plus, or SJWs in the secular movement, I definitely think that there is a schism that needs to happen, and there is a split that needs to happen, and we need to build community. And I think that you're part of that, and I appreciate it quite a bit.
And I appreciate this conversation. So, to everybody who's still with us and hanging in there, I appreciate you too. And this has been Curiosity. I love you all. And Marty loves you all. I know that that is the truth. And thank you. Bye.